Happy hump day, everybody. Oh my goodness. I hope your week is going well. This is Michael, Graveyard Shift. My favorite part of the day. Shout out to all my peeps on third shift, working hard like I am. And I'm here with your daily trivia question. What do you guys do to get over that hump in hump day? I'm going to tell you, at my age, folks, I do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. Jump, crawl, just get over that hump and get on with the rest of the week. But anywho, that's another story altogether. I digress. The answer to the previous trivia question was John Adams moving into the White House. I don't know if you were able to get, I threw a couple of clues in there, and one of which, of course, the primary clue was the music, right? That was the Jeffersons moving on up. So I don't know if you guys were able to tell that was that song. It was an acoustic, instrumental version of it. But anyways, sometimes the clue, if I do give one, will be in the bumper music. Sometimes it will be in like the pictorial. Sometimes it's in the narrative. You just got to kind of listen and figure it out, folks. That's what makes the trivia questions all that much more fun. So the answer, like I was saying, was move it into the White House. John Adams said that may none but honest and wise men ever rule under this roof. As he walked into the White House for the first time, the first president ever to live there on November 1st, 1800, that, of course, was the focus of the trivia question. It was originally called the President's House, simply the President's House. Construction of the executive mansion in the heart of the newly planned Capital District of Columbia had actually begun 8 years earlier with the laying of the cornerstone, almost 8 years to the day, in 1792. So it took a while for the place to be built. Now, Adams had been living temporarily in a hotel called the Tuna Cliff City Hotel. It's a very famous hotel where John Adams stayed before he moved into the White House. And this was near the half-finished Capitol building. So nothing was done in Washington just yet, right? He had lived there since June of that same year. And that was when the federal government had officially moved from Philadelphia to the new capital city of Washington, D.C. So everything was just getting started, folks. It was all humble beginnings, and it was half built. How'd you like to be the leader of the free world? Checking into a hotel. That's where you live in. Adams literally rolled up in a horse and carriage. He was known for his two horses and his carriage. He literally rolled up in a horse and carriage that very historic morning and knocked on the door. He said, "Hey, yeah, I'm the president, man. I'm here. I have arrived." He and his wife's furniture from Philadelphia had actually somehow managed to make it there and was in place. Somebody took care of that before he got there. And the only other thing that was there was a portrait of his predecessor, George Washington. The rest of the house was empty, was ready to be set up. They were like, "Here you go, here's your keys. You know, you're all set. Just move in." Even though that was the case, construction remained unfinished. Walls were still being plastered and painted and so forth when Adams stepped into the new official residence that morning for the commander-in-chief to set off a very, very historic record and lifetime of being the residence of the President of the United States. Now, when his wife Abigail came to join him in Washington, she did not like the place. She was not crazy about it at all, and she let him know about it. She found it to be cold and damp, and it probably was because none of it was done yet, and it was November. Winter was approaching, so she had fires burning in every room right as the first winter season approached. And she was reported to have resorted to hanging their laundry at one point in an empty room called the audience room at the time, and that is what is currently the East Room. That is on the books in history. That actually happened. She was known for hanging their laundry up so that it would dry in the damp and unfinished rooms throughout, as she put it in her journal. They only both lived there for 5 short months, so it was short-lived anyways. Remember, this was an election year, right? Elections were later that month in November, and the campaign had already started, quite frankly, before they moved in, while he was staying at the hotel. So he only served one term, right? So in the very last part of his one term, they were in the White House, and that was it. Didn't stay very long. And Abigail was, quite frankly, happy to leave the great castle, as she called it, in Washington altogether. And in fact, when Jefferson, who voted him out, essentially, as he was being sworn in Washington, they were not present for that ceremony. They were both already well on their way back to Massachusetts, where they got a retirement home, and where they retired, actually. They bought a home and retired. I didn't mean to say retirement home. And a farm, and they lived happily ever thereafter. And Abigail was happy because she was in a warm house and could wash her clothes in the dryer, I guess, or dry her clothes in the dryer instead of hanging them up. I don't know. But anywho, a couple of geek factoids. It was first known as the President's House, then as the Executive Mansion as years went by, and was referred to as the White House as early as 1812, which, by the by, was when the British burned the place. And then it was extensively renovated and rebuilt thereafter, of course. Now, it was officially changed to the White House by President Theodore Roosevelt in 1901. Our very first president, Mr. George Washington himself, selected the site for the White House in 1791. So we have him to thank for that. Major renovations have, of course, been periodic over the decades. I think Truman, if my research serves me correctly, did a major inside and out renovation of the White House, gutted it out completely and so forth. Cool, and that has occurred, periodically. They'll go in there and renovate the place to keep it up to date, of course, because it's where the leader of the free world stays. You got to have all that. Now you have to all that security, technology, everything. It's like a compound, very high security perimeter these days. I thought this was really cool. Every president since John Adams, since that historic day in 1800, has occupied the White House. I did not know that. I think that's really, really cool. Despite all the renovations and so forth that have taken place, every president since John Adams and their family has occupied the White House. Check this out. There are 132 rooms, 35 bathrooms, 6 levels in the current residence, 412 doors. I don't know who's going around counting doors, especially 412 of them. 412 doors. Think about that. There's got to be a door in every corner of that place. 147 windows to clean, 28 fireplaces, 8 staircases, and 3 elevators in the current residence. The White House kitchen is able to serve dinner to as many as 140 guests. The place is packed to the rim with staff nowadays, to include, of course, Secret Service. And that's the White House. It's a really cool place to study, to research. Of course, it's a part of American history, right? And John Adams helped open up the first White House and live there for the first time. Pretty cool stuff, folks. All right, folks, let's keep the week rolling right here, right now with a brand new trivia question and get over that hump day for November 2nd. On this day in 1959, a game show contestant named Charles Van Doren admits to a congressional committee that he had been given questions and answers in advance on this popular quiz show. Good luck, folks. Have a wonderful Wednesday. And thanks for being so wonderful yourselves and for all your hard work. I appreciate you all. Peace out, folks.